The book that we're going to read today is called A Splendid Friend Indeed by Susan Bloom. And the cover, it has a bear, a duck, and a red book. There's a duck. He looks like he's standing on something. I wonder what he's standing on. What are you doing? Are you reading? The bear has a book in his hands. I like to read. The duck stands right in front of the bear, and he wants to read his book too. Do you want to hear me read? The duck has a book in his hands, and he looks like he wants to try to read to the bear, but the bear doesn't look very happy because he has his back turned away. Now, what are you doing? Writing? So the bear has a notebook and a pencil in his hands. So I think he is writing in something in his notebook. What do you think he's writing? I like to write. So the duck looks like he wants to write in his book too because he's kind of looking at the polar bear. Do you want to see me write? So he looks like the duck looks like he's asking the polar bear if he can write in his notebook too because he has his hand together and he looks like he wants to turn with the notebook. What are you doing now? Thinking? The polar bear, or the bear, looks like he's thinking. He has his hand on his elbow on his knee and his hands resting on his head. So while the duck was writing, the polar bear was thinking. Thinking makes me hungry. Are you hungry? I think I'll go make a snack. So the duck runs the other way and he begins to go get them a snack. What do you think the polar bear feels? He has his hands crossed against his chest. I don't think he looks very happy. I'm back. I made a snack. So the duck comes back and he's holding all kinds of different things on in his hands. He has a blanket, a paper bag, and this looks like a piece of paper. And the polar bear is still writing. I wrote a note. I'll read it to you. Does it look like the polar bear wants to hear it? I don't think he wants to hear it. He has a book on top of his head. But the duck has the paper on his hand, so it looks like he's going to begin reading his note to his friend. I like you. Indeed I do. You are my splendid friend. So the duck looks like he was reading his note out loud for the bear to hear, and the bear stops and he listens because the duck calls him his friend. The bear says, "Thank you. I like you too." Indeed I do. He has his hand stretched out to the bear. Well, the bear has his hand stretched out to the duck. It looks like he's wiping his tears away from his eyes with a blanket too. I think that made him really happy, hearing that the duck considered him his friend. You are my splendid friend indeed. And then the bear gives the duck a big old bear hug. He looks like they really like each other and they're happy that they're friends. And then they enjoy the picnic together with all the snacks that the duck brought. The end. So now I'm going to go read the book through again and ask questions, and y'all can answer it if you want. Here's the cover of the page. What animals do you see on here? I see a white fluffy bear, and this looks like a duck. His body is white and has an orange beak. And then they're holding an object. What color is this? It's red and it looks like a book. Like the book we're going to read. Here's the duck. He's standing on top of something. What was something that was white and fluffy that we saw earlier? Let's find out. It was the polar bear. I wonder why the duck is standing on top of the polar bear's head. And what is the polar bear doing? He's reading the red book. And it looks like the duck wants to know what the bear was doing too. So the duck sees that the bear was reading the book and he says, I like to read. So he sits in front of the book and he tries to see what the bear was reading. How do you think the bear feels that somebody just comes and tries to do something that you were doing? He doesn't look very happy. And what do you think the duck is doing since he took the book from the bear? He looks like he wants to read the book out loud to the bear. But the bear, how does he feel? He doesn't look too happy because his hands are crossed together and his back is faced away from the duck. What are you doing, writing? So now that they're done reading, the polar bear has something else in his hands. It looks like he has another book and also a pencil. So what do you do with the book and pencil? You can write in a book or make your own story, or you can even draw a picture. What do you think the duck's going to want to do now since the polar bear has something else instead of a red book? He says, I like to write. It sounds like the duck wants to write too. So what do you think he's going to do? He asked, do you want to see me write? So he's asking the polar bear if he can borrow his book and his pencil. And the polar bear is just looking down at him. But the duck has his hands crossed together and asking if he can use his notebook and pencil. So while the duck is writing in the notebook, the polar bear, what do you think he's doing? He has his elbows on his knees and his hands resting on his head. It looks like he's thinking. What do you think he's thinking about? Do you think he's thinking? I think he's thinking about what the duck's gonna want to do next, since he's been doing everything the polar bear has been doing. The duck says that thinking makes him hungry, so he's gonna run and make a snack. So do you think the bear is warning the duck to come back? Because he thinks he's leaving, but he doesn't think he's going to come back. Or does you think he wants him to come back? It doesn't look like the bear wants him to come back. But the duck does come back, and he comes back holding so many different things. What do you see on his hands? I see he's holding a picnic blanket right there, and a brown bag. And this looks like a piece of paper. I wonder why the duck has a piece of paper in his hands. You think he wrote something on there? And then the bear, he's still writing his paper or in his book, but he's still looking at the duck, trying to see what he's going to do. The duck says he wrote a note. What do you think? What kind of note do you think the duck wrote to the bear? Do you think the bear wants to hear it? He has a book where? He has his book on top of his head, covering his ears too. So the duck reads, I like you. Indeed I do. You are my splendid friend. And the duck he looks like he's reading his note so loud because his mouth is open so wide. And then I think that when the polar bear heard that the duck called him his friend, it made him really happy. Because the polar bear stops what he's doing and he listens to the duck. How do you think the polar bear felt right here after he heard the duck read him a note? It made him emotional. He started to tear up because he uses the picnic blanket to wipe his tears. And he has his hand reached out to the duck too. I think he really appreciated that the duck called him his friend. So that note made him so happy that what did the polar bear give the duck? A big bear hug. And they look like they enjoyed that a lot. Look at that big hug that they're giving each other. Do you give big hugs like that to your friends? I do. And so after they read the note and give each other a hug, they enjoy the picnic together. What do you think the duck brought? What do you see? I see a cookie they're eating. They both have a cookie in their hand and a cup. And they look like they're drinking hot chocolate. They're sitting on that blanket. There you go. And the end. I think this book is really good for younger and older toddlers because this book teaches you about sharing with your friends, and they're at the age where they are beginning to learn how to do that, and they do have trouble because everything is mind to them. So the words on the book in here are very simple. and the pictures are big so that everybody can see. And I feel like this is really good for them because their attention span is not very long, and so you can go through this book fairly quickly. Or even if you don't want to read their words, you can just look at the pictures and make up your own words, or listen to what the toddlers want to say about it, because you know they like animals, and there's animals in here, and they can describe what each animal is doing, and then you can help guide that story time. So I hope y'all enjoy this book, and thank you for watching.